I'm sometimes fascinated by communication, especially miscommunication. Those moments when you believe that you have clearly portrayed your opinion, clearly communicated your point, and somebody else takes away completely the opposite message or just does not seem to understand what your meaning was at all. I think this happens a lot in game development, in game design. Now, really good games tend to have very strong communication. They tend to tell you what the mechanics are so that you know how to use them. And when I say tell, I don't mean through a big text dialogue. I mean, they show you, really. They give you an opportunity to understand the mechanics and explore them and work with them. And they communicate what they think might be fun or might be a priority for you. And they go, hey, explore this element of the game. This is really where we put all the juice. This is where the good stuff is. And if you like it, explore it. If you like these other elements, you can check those out too. I like a game that communicates well. Sometimes I like a game that communicates poorly because having everything spelled out is not always all that fun, to be honest. This is Game, Develop, Repeat. I'm your host, Chris, and today we're talking about communication in games, game design, and just in general. Thank you, as always, for joining me. Crystal clear communication is not always a good thing in a game. I'm thinking specifically of open world games. I'm thinking something like Morrowind has pretty clear communication, but it's not telling you absolutely everything that's going on. It's kind of giving you a general direction. It's saying, yeah, I think maybe you go here, you go work on that, you go figure it out. Okay, cool. That's a nice open world, small amount of communication. You kind of got to deal with it. You kind of got to remember things, and you'll work through it, and you'll figure it out. And you have a certain amount of exploration that you have to do, and then you can just kind of get lost in the world and do your thing. Valheim is a game that gives you some clear goals, and then goes, but we're not going to tell you exactly how to accomplish them. And it's a very open world, and you're going to have to move around and find stuff and figure it out. Good. It's got some clear communication, and it leaves it pretty open to you. It gives you some guidelines and then goes, okay, be on your way, figure it out. I'm not going to hold your hand this whole way through. Cool. I think the kind of open world game that people resist is the open world game with a little too much communication, a little too much clarity, a little too much. Here is exactly where you should go in order to get rewards. I'm talking about the Assassin's Creed stuff. I'm talking about here is every point, every check mark, everything to check off of the list. So just go through these and finish all of these, and then cool, you're good. There's a point with that where it becomes not exactly confusing, but it's an overwhelming amount of information in some way. Not in the way of, okay, I'm putting this game down, I don't want to touch it, this is ridiculous, but in the way of, are you telling me all of this is important and I should do all of this? If you put all of this in this game, you must think it's worth playing, right? You put all of these things in here for me to play and enjoy. You've highlighted them on the map. You've made them look extremely important and valuable. So surely this is what I should be spending my time on in this game, right? They're not just going to be a repetitive grind fest, are they? And if they are, whatever rewards I get from them are going to be worthwhile and useful and essential to something going on later in the game, or at least very fun, very enjoyable. At least they'll make me feel super powerful or something like that. And so I haven't played enough Assassin's Creed to know if the power part is true. Like maybe you get a lot of power out of finishing every single one of those nodes, but man, that's not how I felt when I played the Assassin's Creed games a little bit, right? Like I got to a point with those nodes and trying to clear them and just going like, okay, so none of this matters and this is just a ridiculous thing that I just have to do. Or not even have to do. This is just a thing that like it feels like I'm supposed to do it because they're everywhere on the map and it feels very important and I don't care. So you're telling me that this is important and my experience of it is that it is not. Now, does the game specifically tell you this stuff is super important? No, but the design says, hey, look at this. Look at it. Look at it. You should do this. Anytime that I encounter a side quest in a game, I feel that the game is communicating to me that it's important, which is why it drives me a little bit crazy when a game gives me a side quest with a big side quest notification and all of this stuff. That is essentially like, grab this bowl of milk and give it to this cat. It's, okay, all right, okay, I'll do it. But, surely this evolves into something. If I get a quest that is grab this bowl of milk and give it to this cat, I'm going, what's going to happen? What's going to happen when I try to get the bowl of milk? What's going to happen when I give it to the cat? What crazy fantastical thing is going to happen as a result of me giving this milk to this cat? Is there like a gremlins situation? Is this cat enchanted? Is something interesting and wild happening? Is there an owner of the cat that's going to show up and get angry at me because I've been feeding their cat and like trying to take it away from them? Is the cat actually a human or a god embodied in this animal who's testing your ability to be kind and is now approving of you? No, you were just giving the cat milk. Like, it, okay, cool, but little moments like that in a game, I feel like imply importance and excitement and some amount of interesting storytelling. We're not playing a game to have the most mundane experiences, right? You're not really playing a game to do chores. I mean, sometimes you are, but not really like a big RPG, which is why I think that's a miscommunication. And maybe on the negative side of a miscommunication, I'm trying to think of positive examples of miscommunication, and they're not immediately coming to mind. But you can have pleasant surprises and little laughs about things in a game that you misunderstood. But generally, the stuff that comes to mind is the like, oh, it looks like I can jump over this, but I can't. Right? Oh, there's a hidden wall here, and I didn't really expect there to be a wall here. It kind of looks like I'm going to be able to climb this. There's that kind of thing. And I think that it's pretty important to communicate clearly whatever you are going to. And there's a lot that you're communicating in a game. But more importantly, don't communicate too much. This is my taste in games, I guess. Uh, I don't want the quest line. I mean, sometimes there's a part of me that does, right? Look, that's true. There's a part of me that goes, "Oh, can't you just tell me what to do so I can just slog through this game, be done with it, and move on to the next one?" But if I'm reaching that point with your game, you did something wrong. You know, I don't want to have that feeling. And if there's a little part of me saying that, like, chances are that portion of the game is a little bit confusing or a little bit boring or it's a little too long or it's put into a portion of the game where I'm more excited about some other part. But if a game needs like the here is exactly where you go, here's how you complete the next quest, here's how you finish everything, here let me hold your hand the whole way through. If it is communicating every single detail of what you do and like solving puzzles for you as you're playing, then I get a little frustrated. And that's not to say that those are inherently bad things, but I do want them to be optional, right? I do feel that over communication is often as bad as miscommunication. And in an effort to not over communicate any more than I already have, we're going to move on to talking about developing. Let's start by talking about character design. because I think that there are a lot of messages that you send to your player through the appearance of your characters. As an example, I recently watched a Psych of Play video on YouTube. I think his channel is actually called Daryl Talks Games. The video was about the design of villains. I believe he called it We've Made Evil Too Sexy or something like that. And he discusses the differences in different villains in certain pieces of media, right? So he talks about Disney villains looking like horrific, looking ugly, looking villainous in a Disney way, like old school Disney. And then he also talks about villains in other shows that are like very attractive, conventionally attractive, and the impact that that has on the viewer, which is the impact of like the halo effect. If you see a villainous character, and depending on how they look, they may not immediately appear villainous. You may attribute some positive traits to them based on the fact that they are attractive and well groomed, and don't look like one of the witches from The Witcher 3. Like, I'm talking about like the bog witches, you know what I mean? So like there's a visual communication going on in character design. And I'm not saying that it is a binary, like this character looks horrifically ugly, therefore evil, this one is pretty, therefore good. You can make like a devious looking angelic character. You can make somebody look a little too pristine, to the point of looking very suspicious, or a little too uptight. You can make somebody look quite like hideous and beaten down and still look kind. You can do interesting things with character design. I'm thinking of Gollum versus Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. Just by expressions, you take Gollum and flip him on his head and make him look kind of like a little sweetheart when he's acting as Smeagol. He's still kind of gross, but like, there is an impact just based on the expressions you're making. So you can, especially with faces, but I guess with everything about a character, communicate very strongly whether or not this character is maybe not trustworthy, but should be perceived as trustworthy. Is this character somebody the developer or the world wants you to trust, wants you to admire, wants you to look up to? What is the message? What is the implication? Are you going to trust them? Are you going to believe in them? Or are you going to think that they are dangerous? And is it going to get flipped on its head? This is a small thing, but it is a huge thing. Like everything in game design, it's nice to go, oh, it doesn't matter what the characters look like. It doesn't matter at all. It'll be fine. We'll just run everything through story and dialogue. Sure. But if you're going to do that, make sure that you're not accidentally communicating something through your character design, or if you are, make sure that it's trivial and unimportant. Or, let it ride, because maybe you don't need that much microcontrol over it, and maybe your character is just like, your own game, and it fits, and it's cool, and whatever. And then you've got things like Thomas Was Alone? I need to play that, where all the characters are just like squares, triangles, circles. I don't know how much their shape plays into their personalities. That would be very interesting if it does. Ah, man, now I've got that on my mind. Okay, I don't know if that's gonna make me play that game, but I do want to know if their shapes play into their personality. I almost couldn't resist doing that if I was making something like that, where everything is just a shape with a color. Then again, how much can you really do there? It just feels like something that would be fun to explore, right? It just feels like it would be really interesting to be like, oh, the yellow triangle, yeah, he's like excited and a little bit annoying, right? Like he's kind of like pointy. He kind of gets on your nerves because he's so bright. And like the like blue, I don't know, like blue, very wide rectangle is just like a little slow. Like, okay, anyway, you get what I'm saying. So let's move on from the character design conversation. World design. This implies a lot, right? If you're going into a fantasy looking world and you start getting hit with a ton of sci-fi elements, that has a very different impact than if you're going into a world that looks like cyberpunk and you get hit with a bunch of sci-fi elements. You might want that impact. That's cool, but there's an intentionality to it. We all know this. I'm beating a dead horse on this one. Story and translation. I I have a belief that JRPGs are probably not as weird as I think they are, and it is probably all a cultural translation issue. I think the Final Fantasy series probably has a lot of weird cultural stuff tucked away in it and is like deeply steeped in like Japanese metaphor and subtext and everything. And I just do not get it, which is why at some point the game's stories fall apart for me. Which might be why 16 made a lot more sense to me because it was like extremely Western. Like maybe the 13 games weren't incomprehensible. Maybe they were just not translatable because they did not make sense to me at all. Like the 13 series was baffling. Anyway, there's that. I don't know. I guess what I'm getting at is there are so many opportunities for you to communicate one thing to your player and for something else to be the case. And that can be a very useful and very powerful tool. It can be extremely cool to be expecting one thing and get something else that is a pleasant surprise. You don't want it to be the moment when you think you're drinking a Coca-Cola and it is a glass of milk. You want it to be a little bit not disgusting if you've ever done that. You don't want it to feel like that. You gotta ride the line here, but I think that it is an enormously powerful design opportunity. And you're gonna not communicate everything clearly because there's so many things that you're communicating throughout the game. I think it's really important to communicate your mechanics clearly, though. I to this day, to this day, get a little, just a tinge, just a little like, ah, oh, god dang it, hit of frustration when there is a thing that looks like I can jump over it that I cannot jump over in a game that has a jumping mechanic. Even if it's just like, oh, it's just a tiny bit taller than me. I get really frustrated by a long jump that you are almost able to make, that you have to get a new ability in order to be able to make, that you don't know when or how you're getting the ability, and it just kind of feels like maybe I'm not getting the right angle on it because I am like almost there. That drives me crazy. I think it should be crystal clear when you do not have the range to make a jump, when you do not have the height to make a jump. And I know that that means exaggerating some things. And I know that that means making it really clear that this is a place that you will be able to jump later. And a good way of doing that is going, oh, look at how close you were. But like if I am like a fingertips reach away from it and I can't quite make it, then I'm going to keep trying. And it's going to waste a lot of my time. But if you make it just far enough that I go, that really looks like a place I should be able to jump to, but I definitely can't do it yet. Great. Perfect. Beautiful mechanic. Love it. Let me go get that unlocked. Maybe mark it on my map somehow. I don't like having to remember things like that. I know that's a little bit like hold my hand, please situation, but I just don't like it. It just bothers me. If I've already been there and I know I'm going to want to come back, just mark it on my map so I don't have to think about it. I don't want to be thinking back while moving forward in a game. It bothers me. But that's just me. So, those are examples. Those are my pet peeves. If you're going to have a mechanic, make it clear. just make the mechanics so clear. I I I know that other people feel me on this. There are also instances of a mechanic just changing kind of in the middle of a game unexpectedly via like a bug or something. So the game I'm thinking of is Summoner, which has this one chunk of the game that has a bug where you cannot, I forget which way it was. You cannot click to get through from one zone to another in one spot in the game. So the entire game I was using my mouse to click to move, and then at one point I go, why can't I move here? It looks like I should be able to move here, but I guess it's a wall, whatever. Turns out you have to use WASD or something like that. Like you have to use like arrow keys in order to move in that one spot, because it won't let you mouse click in that area, but it'll let you move with your keyboard controls. Ooh, that one was frustrating. That made me stop that game twice. I like that game. That game has a lot of miscommunication, actually. That game has a couple moments where I just go, okay, well, I guess I'm done. I guess I'll just never figure this game out. Even though I like it, I never went back to it. I've never gone back and figured it out after the couple of times that I got stuck in it. There's like a puzzle on this island. This is what got me. Okay, now I'm ranting. Sorry. This is what got me on that game is I got past that thing. It was in the sewers, and there's a spot where it looks like you can turn into another section of the sewers, and you can't. So you have to learn that your keyboard is bugged out. I've never used keyboard movement the entire game. Okay, cool. Now we're using keyboard movement. I learned that, or vice versa, whatever. I learned that. I get through the sewers, I get into the city, I go over to here, I go to the place that I'm supposed to go, to this like wizard tower thing on this like cool island. It's kind of interesting. There's like a lift, there's an elevator, there's a golem you have to talk to. And I was following a guide, and even following the guide, I could not figure out how to progress. I was like, what is going on here? I like read the guide, it tells me exactly what to do. I look around, I go, that's not a thing I can do. What is going on in this game? I can't stand this. And I worked on it for a while before just giving up on it. So if your game's so confusing that I can't even get through with a guide, I mean, my God, that's a cool game though. I do really like Summoner. It's making me want to play it, but I'm not going to. I do like that one. Um, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like, make very clear, as annoying as it might seem, make clear prompts on the screen. Final Fantasy IX, I think, gives you a exclamation point or something over your head when you're near something interactable along the walls, which solved a problem that I've run into in a lot of games. Actually, I might be mixing this up. That might be a different one. But there's a problem in some JRPGs where you have to run along the walls of things, constantly tapping X to see if there's anything interactable or any secret thing to pick up. I believe The Legend of Dragoon, I believe, does this with Stardust. I believe you have to just like go around tapping a button in order to pick things up with no indication on the screen. I think there's faint sparkle, maybe. I think so, but it's similar to other. Like, I understand what they're going for. It drives me crazy. I really didn't like that mechanic. I think sometimes there's absolutely no sparkle, but yeah, I like clear indications. I don't like tell me everything to do, please. That's unfortunate, but I do like clear indicators. I like clear signals. I like knowing what is and isn't interactable. And yes, I know people don't like the like, oh look, this wall is bright yellow for some reason, which means you can climb it. Yeah, there's a line to draw here of like maybe make a clear indicator without making it like absolutely freaking hideous and totally immersion breaking. But I would rather have a hideous immersion breaking thing than get stuck in the game to the point of not being able to progress any further because I cannot see what the heck I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I know it's unfortunate, but that's where I land on it. And surely there's a middle ground there. Anyway, enough about all that. Let's wrap this thing up and just get rolling with our weeks, huh? don't really have much of a game development update for you this week because I have been just playing some piano and doing some writing. And that's been nice. The writing has been good. I'm starting to feel a little antsy. I'm starting, after what, it's been like a week, starting to feel a little antsy. I started reading more of that book that I referenced in the previous episode, the book Effortless Mastery. I'm trying to pick that up and learn some stuff from it. And I did immediately learn some stuff from it. I'm trying to not resist it and lean into it. And it's valuable. It's got some cool stuff. It's a little like musical. There are moments where I go, okay, a little over the top maybe. But for the most part, I like it. So I've been reading that and trying to implement it into my piano playing and trying to implement some of the ideas from it into drawing and game stuff in general, just to make it something that I don't resist as much. I have this sensation of, when you have a gym routine and you have those times when you don't want to go to the gym. At some point, I got into a routine of, I want to go to the gym. I'm excited. This is awesome. I don't think I have that right now with my creative stuff. I had a period of time where I was doing that, where I was like, I want to create. This is awesome. It goes on and off and on and off, and it's sort of a mood-based thing. And I think some of the techniques from Effortless Mastery are opening that up a little bit, which could be cool. So I'm going to keep exploring that. And I'm starting to feel antsy about doing game development, so I will probably end up leaning back into it this week. Or I will start doing something a little bit more purpose-driven with this like kind of YouTube scripty thing that I've been writing, which is cool. I enjoy the writing. And I did some drawing too. I drew a bunch of faces, which was fun. So that's my week. You know what? I need to give you a question, don't I? What is your favorite subversion of expectations in a game? We're talking about miscommunication. Subverting expectations is pretty close. What moment in a game really subverted your expectations and you really enjoyed it? You can hop into the Discord and share, or you can just, answer yourself. Hopefully this has some value to you. I don't know. I like keeping the questions rolling. They're kind of fun for me. Just even coming up with them is nice. That is everything that I have for you this week. So I'll see you in the next one. Until then, get out there, make some stuff, and have fun with it.